Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to check today's video out. Got an info pack deal for y'all today. We're going to be giving y'all a spring chatterbait seminar tutorial. At the time of filming this video, it's the end of February. March and April are some of the top chatterbait months in the entire year. So I got some things that have worked for me over the years, the last 3 or 4 years, specifically during the pre-spawn period of the year in terms of chatterbait and bladed jig fishing. So we're going to give you guys just a really good overall seminar on it. Got 3 different setups I want to show you, talking about the areas to look for and how to fish them. So I think it's going to be a really good video for y'all today. Also, before we get started, guys, just a couple quick housekeeping tips to keep the videos on YouTube here. Just want to invite everybody to please hit that subscribe button here at Advanced Bass Fishing. And also, please check out our Fish of the Moment, or my Fish of the Moment, lake map breakdowns that I put in the description. Great resources to learn more about your favorite lake as far as springtime areas. Also, we got a lot of different other stuff, links in the description there that'll help your guys fishing out if you guys want to check that out. Really appreciate it. Okay, for me, it's like when I start thinking about fishing bladed jigs or chatterbaits in the pre-spawn time of the year, in the spring, it usually starts when that water temperature first starts to hit 50 degrees. From what I have seen in my own personal fishing experience, chatterbait fishing is all about water temperatures being in the 50s. 50 to 60 degrees is perfect chatterbait water. And specifically when you get water temperatures in that 55 degree range. Mid 50s is perfect for chatterbait fishing. So that's one of the things you got to remember about. Now that changes, depending upon what part of the country you're in, you may have that right now. You may not have it until May, but that is the key window, is usually about 2 to 4 weeks before the fish begin spawning. Once those water temperatures hit the early 60s, it's going to be a prime time to fish them. So what I want to do today, guys, is I've got 3 different setups that I like during the early spring as far as how, I rig them up with trailers. I want to show you what those are, talk a little bit about how I fish them, and the type of areas you want to fish them in. So we'll get into that. Okay, the first one, guys, and I use a variety of different chatterbaits and trailers, but the first one I want to show you guys here is just the old chatterbait here in some type of a green pumpkin with orange, or brown with some type of an orange or green pumpkin type of a crawdad skirt. This is just one that I've rigged up right here, but the main thing is it doesn't really matter what specific colors they are, as long as you got some orange, some green, some brown, something like that resembles a crawdad. And guys, this is the trailer I use in all of them. This is the Zoom Shimmer Shad. This is what a lot of people are going to now. I'll link all this stuff in my Tackle Warehouse link. I'll put all the bladed jig links and the trailers if you guys would like to use that link to get some. But the Shimmer Shad really works good as far as the trailer on there. You definitely need some type of a crawdad pattern. Like I said, don't get real picky on it. Just be creative. You can't really go wrong if you stay with those colors that are in the framework of what crawdad colors are. So here is when a crawdad pattern, something like this, works good in the early spring. And again, this is probably my favorite color for the springtime of the year. And here's the window that it works in as far as the conditions. Number one, I like to have anywhere between, say, 2 to 4 foot of visibility. That is a key window. Specifically, 2.5 foot of visibility, ideal for that. You can catch them on it, in 4 foot of clarity, but you really need those type of low light days. Cloudy days with some wind will help out. But that 2.5 foot range is going to be really, really good. Next thing you need with it is you need some cover in the appropriate depth. Now the key cover, as far as when those fish are going to be in less than 5 foot of water that you can target them on a chatterbait, is going to be a mixture of some type of wood, grass, or rock cover, depending upon the lake you got. If you have shallow submergent vegetation, just reeling the chatterbait over that shallow submergent vegetation, hydrilla milfoil, dead lily pad stems, gator grass, really good way to catch them. You will find in most lakes that have shallow submergent vegetation and less than 5 foot of water, even if the water is a little bit cooler, those fish will still use that shallow water if the grass is present. But in most man-made lakes that do not have grass, you're going to be talking about some type of rock or wood cover. Now, my favorite type of areas to fish the crawdad pattern in the pre-spawn time of the year is around rocky banks. I like bigger rock if you can have them. The ideal rock is sort of like baseball to basketball size rock, sort of mixed. This is a really good area for those crawdads to hang out in. That's why the crawdad pattern works really good. But I'll just basically work down the bank like I was throwing a crankbait. Just throw it to the bank, try to keep it close to the bottom. A lot of times I'll use sort of a pump and retrieve with it. But fishing those rocky banks in the pre-spawn, 2 to 3 foot of visibility is really good with the crawdad pattern. And another thing about the crawdad pattern, it works in a variety of different light level conditions. It works on sunny days, cloudy days. So from that standpoint, it's a really, really versatile color. You can't really go wrong with it. Okay, the next one, guys, is some type of a shad pattern. A shad pattern, again, I got the zoom shimmy shad on it. White, pearlescent, something like that is gonna be really good color if you've got low light conditions and more off-colored water. So if you've got your water visibilities that are sort of like 1.5 to 2 feet, maybe you got a cloudy day, or maybe it's early in the morning when it's shady out and there's not a lot of light penetration, or if you have a lot of wind, the white or the shad pattern can work really, really good. Now the shad pattern, I have not done that good on it around grass. For me, this is more like rock and wood, because a lot of times in the pre-spawn, especially when the water's in the mid-50s, those big gizzard and threadfin shad will get right up on the bank and feed on that plankton, and that's what that shad pattern chatterbait will catch them on. So I really like to fish it around rock. Good place to try this, guys, if you're throwing a shad pattern, is on a riprap bank. One of my favorite ways to catch them in the pre-spawn is take a shad pattern chatterbait, get my boat in like 8 to 10 foot of water off the riprap and make a 45-degree angle cast down that riprap, and just, again, try to slow crawl it just off the bottom. In the pre-spawn, you don't want to fish the chatterbait high in the water column. You want to fish it close to the bottom if all possible. And again, one of the key things on this, one of the key retrieves for this early season chatterbait fishing is a subtle pump. Now what I'm talking about is, say I'll throw that chatterbait out there down that riprap bank or something, and once it hits the bottom, I want to let it, or once it hits the water, I want to let it go to the bottom so I know how deep the water is. And then I'll just make a subtle pump like that, reel it down, subtle pump, and then maybe reel it slow like that across the bottom, pump it like that. And that slow reeling, when you're going across the bottom like that, and then you pump it up off the bottom, let it slowly fall back down, reel it, pump it up the bottom like that, let it go back down. It's really attractive to those early spring bass, regardless of the color that you use. And finally, guys, another color I like is a bright, bright color. Now this is by Bass Nova right here. This is the Earth Shaker vibrating jig by Bass Nova. Chartreuse blade on it, chartreuse skirt, bright chartreuse trailer on it. Guys, this can be really, really good in the springtime of the year, again, under those dirty water, low light conditions. So again, if I have a day out there, say it's March, water temperature's 55 degrees, it's raining, maybe you have a light rain, the wind's blowing 10 or 15 miles an hour, it's, you know, the light intensity is dark. This bright chartreuse like this will definitely get you some bites, especially in shallow water and especially around grass. So one of my favorite areas to throw this thing around, again, is like dead lily pad stems. If you have a lake that has lily pads, most of the time in March, you just have the stems, and reeling this thing through those pads can be really good. Or again, slow rolling it through shallow grass if you do have that. But like I said, this is something they don't see a lot, and they definitely react to it under those low light, dirty water conditions. Now, most of the time when I'm fishing it, as far as the equipment is another, important factor. You want to use a rod on a chatterbait in the springtime of the year that has a fairly soft tip on it, because chatterbait, when you're reeling it through the water like this, a lot of times if the fish come up and bite it and you have a stiff rod and you set the hook real fast, you'll miss a lot of those fish. You'll pull it out of their mouth. So having a soft tip rod is really a big thing. I use that Megabass Launcher, which is a 7-foot, 11-inch medium action tip rod. I really like that. And most of the time on my chatterbait fishing, I'm only using 2 line tests, either 17-pound test Seagar and VizX or 20-pound test Seagar and VizX. I use the 17 if I want to slow roll it in deeper water, like 5 to 10. And if I'm fishing in water less than 5, I'll go to the 20 with that. And I mix it up between the 3/8 ounce head and the 1/2 ounce head, just depending upon the wind and how deep I want to fish it. But that's really the only 2 sizes that I use. I prefer going with the 3/8 ounce that falls a little bit slower. And when the water temperature is a little bit cooler in the springtime of the year, sometimes that can help if you have that little bit lighter head. But anyway, guys, that's just a few good early spring tips with that. That's the 3 different colors I use. And if you're fishing a man-made impoundment that has rock and wood in it, guys, just stay in those typical pre-spawn type of areas. You know, your steeper banks, your channel banks, you know, mixed rock, that's going to be really good. Maybe reeling it next to a lay-down tree on a steep bank, something like that. And if you're in a lake that has grass, just fish the grass in whatever depth that it is. So another thing, one other final thing I'll leave you with it on the hook set on the chatterbait. Now this is something that took me a long time to learn after losing a lot of fish. When you're throwing it out there and you're reeling that chatterbait and boom, you get a strike like that, resist trying to set the hook hard like that. Like a lot of times when you're fishing a chatterbait, that strike is so violent and so instant that you act like a live nerve ending and you set that hook immediately. When you feel that strike, just reel through it. It's like I'm reeling, it's like boom, there's a strike. Just keep reeling and just pull back into it and reel fast. If you hesitate setting the hook hard and setting it instantly and just mentally be prepared for the strike and you reel into it, you're going to land a lot more fish. Another thing about a chatterbait is a lot of times you go a long time between bites with them sometimes. And when you do get a strike, and since you're reeling that bait and the strike is pretty aggressive, again, a lot of times it's just instinct that you set the hook super fast and super hard. Try to avoid that. Try to anticipate a strike all the time. And when you get that strike and you're ready for it, like I said, just keep reeling and you'll definitely land a lot more fish. So anyway, I hope it helps out, guys. We'll talk later.